To a major event by a man with a sense of theatre and a charisma rare in the technology world.
Good morning, Starbucks. How can I help you?
Yes, I'd like to order 4,000 lattes to go, please. No, just kidding.
The iPhone was, after all, just a phone, but its success was the latest triumph of a company which showed that good design was essential to good computing. The Apple story started at an amateur computing club, where in the early 70s Steve Jobs met Steve Wozniak, and they were soon working on their first computers. The Apple I looked a simple affair. The Apple II had graphics and eventually a colour screen. It was Wozniak who brought the engineering expertise, but it was Jobs who had the drive to turn Apple into a business.
He wanted a company. He wanted it to be successful. Everything it takes, phone calls and talking to people, finding out what else is going on, getting ads made, all the work that it takes to really just have a company that has a meaning and a vision.
We shall prevail. On January 24th, Apple Computer will introduce Macintosh.
It was in 1984 that Apple really changed the world with the launch of the Mac, the first personal computer to be navigated via a mouse. Steve Jobs' business was becoming more professional, hiring a senior executive from Pepsi to run the firm.
He looked up at me with these very penetrating eyes. He said, "Do you really want to sell sugar water for the rest of your life? Or do you want to come with me and change the world?"
But the partnership was to be short-lived. As Apple hit choppy waters, John Sculley forced Steve Jobs out of the business he'd founded.
To infinity and beyond!
Away from Apple, Steve Jobs made a very astute investment, buying Pixar, the animation firm which went on to create films like Toy Story in a partnership with Disney. Pixar made Jobs rich, but in 1997 he returned to Apple, whose very survival was then in doubt. It was the iMac which signalled a resurgence, a computer which broke the mould by not looking like a beige box. But it was the arrival of the iPod that showed that Apple could move beyond computing. There'd been other MP3 players, but it soon dominated the market and built Apple a powerful position in the music industry. It all served to increase the devotion of those who saw Apple as far more than just a business, but as a movement with Steve Jobs as its leader.
Well, Steve Jobs is kind of the cult leader of Apple.
He's the figurehead behind it all. He is Apple.
He was the man who cared about what products looked like, not just what they did. Steve Jobs, a visionary who saw the power of digital technology to change the way we live.
Tributes have been coming in from the highest levels of politics and business. Apple's board of directors said Steve Jobs' brilliance, passion, and energy were the source of countless innovations. President Obama said Steve was among the greatest of American innovators, bold enough to believe he could change the world. Bill Gates said the world rarely sees someone who has had the profound impact Steve has had, the effects which will be felt for generations to come. The Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg said, "Thanks for showing that you can what you build can change the world." Well, members of the public have been paying their own tributes to Apple's co-founder.
I think Apple has sort of changed how people think about the relationship to technology. It's made it personable.
He was a man of great perspective. He had a future, he had a vision for Apple, and he really put Apple on the map.
It's very, very innovative. It's very open to new ideas and really out of the box. Everything about Apple is out of the box.
He's probably will be considered an industrial giant on the scale of Thomas Edison and Henry Ford, so one of the great of all time.
Let's go now live to Los Angeles and our correspondent, Peter Bowes. Peter, you're in California. That's the state most associated with American innovation. What are people saying about the legacy of Steve Jobs?
Well, people in California and much wider afield, of course, are extremely proud of what he has achieved in this state. He really genuinely changed the world through his enthusiasm for the technology, for the Macintosh computers and for the gadgets that we all frankly use just about every day, the tablet computers, the iPhone, the iPad. And I noticed in President Obama's statement